Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Vidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Priya. The 8th chapter begins with the question from Arjuna, which is a continuation of chapter 7. Arjuna asking clarification to Krishna to explain few terms used by Krishna in the 7th chapter, the end of 7th chapter. The 6 words he wants an explanation, and the 7th one is a question that he is asking. What is the meaning of that? So answering to that forms the 8th chapter of the Gita. So the first 6 questions, Krishna almost gives a one-word answer. Most like he says, this is what this is, this is what this is, what is, this is what it is. This Brahman is imperishable. It's Aksharam Brahma. What is Brahma? Brahma is that imperishable. That imperishable Brahman's Swabhava, his own being, is called Adhyatma. Like the Swabhava of ocean is to produce waves. Where there is ocean, there will be waves. You cannot take that same ocean water in a bucket. There will not be any waves in the bucket. The vastness of that sheet of water creates the waves. Naturally, by itself, that Swabhava says. That is called this. Then what is that karma? Karma is that creative urge. The urge to create. The urge in the painter to create painting. Without that urge to paint, the painter cannot create painting. Without the urge to sing in the singer, he cannot sing. Now we think singing is karma. Krishna says, no, that's not karma. Karma starts from where? Starts from the very urge to create. Without that urge, there is no. And it is not that the painter will be painting 24/7. He's a painter, yes. Picasso is a painter, correct. He is a musician, correct. You think M.S. Subbulakshmi will be singing 24/7 in her house? Right? No. Not that she'll be singing 24/7. As though there's no other job. Nothing else you do. Because that's what we believe. Because we see M.S. Subbulakshmi as a musician. Therefore, we think she must be singing all the time. It's not the case. Only that musical urge surfaces. But she has that musical urge in her. M.S. Subbulakshmi doesn't have the painting urge in her. There's no urge to painting. There's no urge to play sports. There's no urge to run. Athletics. It's not there. You see. There's no urge to write poetry. You can sing, but you cannot write poetry. But Tagore writes poetry. But depending on that urge is called as karma. What is karma? Karma is the creative urge, this primeval resolve of God. That is karma. You take it as macrocosmic. You can interpret these things in microcosm and macrocosm. So most like the verse 3 ideas were all microcosm with reference to the individual. Then he takes a few ideas, presents it. Another 3 he explains in this next verse. Adi Bhudam Sharobhava. What is that Adi Bhuta? Adi Bhuta is the Kshara. Whatever that Kshara, whatever he referred as earlier one, the perishable aspect of Brahman. Brahman is total. Everything is Brahman. When we say everything is Brahman, perishable as well as imperishable, both are Brahman. And it stands beyond that perishable and imperishable also. Right? So, he says the perishable aspect. What is the perishable aspect? Is what he explained in the previous chapter as Apara Prakriti, the elements, the lower. So all that, there is 5 great elements, Tanmatra elements and this, and then it goes through the various forms and becomes the world all put together. The Jada Prapancha is referred as this Adi Bhuta. What is this Adi Bhuta? This is that Sharobhava. Right? And Adi Devata is the indweller, that Purusha. Adi Devatam is the indweller inside that Bhuta. You can take it macrocosm, you can take microcosm. Either ways you can take it. If you take it as individual one, then we will say this Adi Bhuta is the body. The indweller is the perceiver, perceiving in the body. The actor in the body. The feeler in the body. The thinker in the body. The contemplator in the body. The perceiver, because the body doesn't perceive, remember. Body doesn't act. If body is perceiving, then that body should be able to hear. It should be able to feel. It cannot feel. It cannot hear. It cannot smell. It cannot taste. Yes. The body doesn't perceive. There is a perceiver perceiving through the body. That perceiver, that feeler, that actor, that thinker, that contemplator is referred as Adi Devat. And what is that Adi Yajna? Ahameva, he says. I am that Adi Yajna. There, I am that Adi Yajna, the presiding deity, the pure consciousness functioning, enabling the perceiver to perceive. What is being perceived? Bhuta. Right. Then the body through which the perception happens, there. Then there is a perceiver inside. And the perceiver is getting the capacity to perceive. Who is lending the power to that perceiver to perceive? Ahameva, he says. I am that indweller, that pure consciousness, which stands as a witness. It's just standing inside as a witness. So that's what you got to visualize. The world, the body, then there is an indweller in the body. That indweller gets the capacity to enjoy the world, contact the world, experience the world through the body. From where he gets that power is this. That urge to do that is the karma. All covered. And I am that, he says. This Adi Yajna. The Brahman is pervading everywhere, all pervading. The pervasiveness of Brahman is what is explained here. That's all, through various words. Right. Exactly like how the waker's mind pervades the entire dream. How we will explain? The dream moon that you see is the waker's mind. The dream valley, the dream meadow, the dream stars, the dream tree, the dream dinner, right? The charcoal you use to make this barbecue, in the dream. Preparing and enjoying the dinner with your friends. The friends in the dream is what? Waker's mind. The friends who are enjoying, the friends who are teasing you, the friends who are angry with you, people who like you, people who don't like you. Everyone in the dream is nothing but the waker's mind. And the dreamer who is experiencing all that in the dream is also waker's mind. That you go on explaining, right, one by one. This is also waker's mind. That is also waker's mind. This is also waker's mind. That's also waker's mind. Same thing is what Krishna is doing here, using many words. This is also Brahman. That is also Brahman. This is also me. That is also me. All this is this. How all these aspects are getting different names. That is all he's saying. You don't get really, perturbed with the words, right? Don't have to get worried about the terminologies. What is this? Karma. So, Brahman is Akshara. Aksharam Brahma, that imperishable aspect. There is something which doesn't perish. All that is known to us, all that is experienced by us are perishable. Everything perishes. All the movies perishable. The screen imperishable. The movies come and movies go, but the screen stands. Without that screen, no movie can exist. But you don't require a movie for the screen to exist. The screen can exist independent of the movie. The movie can have a forest fire, and there is a Niagara Falls in the screen, but that screen is neither hot nor wet. It's actually cooled by AC theater. It's cool actually. You go and touch the screen. But what you see in that screen is a huge configuration. The forest fire, these people are fighting to put it down. That's the movie scene. Blasting. But screen is not hot at all. It's cool. Screen has no connection to this. But at the same time, without that, nothing is possible. Similarly, Brahman is a foundation. The first thing he explains is Brahman. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. This imperishable is Brahman. That Brahman has a Swabhava. There's a nature for that. And in that, there is a karma, urge. That urge needs to be expressed, for which you need a platform to experience. Otherwise, why you need anything to live? All that you have to do is what? Just keep on fantasizing in your mind and live. Problem solved. You can imagine yourself to be owning a private jet. Who's going to stop you? You can imagine that you are enjoying this, you are enjoying that, but you cannot actually. You want it to be really experienced. Otherwise, you can imagine to be having ice cream. You can imagine to be having mangoes. Why do you need to have actual mango? You don't need to. But the moment you start that imagination, what you need, sir, then you needed a mango, and then you need a tongue, you need a hand to pluck it, you need a tongue to taste it, and then you need that mind inside you to experience it. Cherish. So you have an urge. That urge has to be expressed, for which you need a world. That world, the equipment, the personality, all that is me, he says. And when all these things are happening, don't think that I am involved in all that. No, I am not participating in that. What I am just standing as the witness, the pure consciousness, standing independent of all this. With this, he has covered those 6 words, what he used in the previous one. Then also Arjuna had asked one question. At the time of death, what happens to the person? Because he said to this, even at the time of Prayana Kale Vishamam, says earlier. So at that time, what happens to him? What happens to the personality? Is what he is asking. Now Krishna is going to be elaborating this. Now, answering this last question, the 7th question, is what Krishna is using more here. He's using more explanation, and he spends more time with that. This verse 5. We have seen up to verse 4. We are moving to verse 5. Antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram. Yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. And he who casting off the body goes forth thinking of me alone at the time of death. He attains my being. There is no doubt about this. Na asti samshaya. That's what he says. Nastyatra. This na asti atra. There's no doubt about this. Very assertive statement. It's just a statement of fact. That's all. There's no doubt about this. Means it's just a plain, simple statement of fact. For the intellectual group, for a devotional set of people, the same statement, there's no doubt about this, will be taken by them as assurance given by Krishna. It is a statement of assurance. And people take it, this is where the problem is. Lot of them, this is a very popular verse, a very popular idea. And people take the letter, literally they take these words. And they quote, see, Krishna says very clearly, at the time of death, what are you supposed to do? He says, goes forth thinking of me alone at the time of death. He attains my being. And he confirms it by saying, there is no doubt about this. Don't think, it is just a possibility. Probably you may. No, he says, there's no such thing. You will reach. You can close the class. You don't have to worry about it at all. No. I don't know why we are wasting time. If you actually read this verse, what are we going to do with this? At the time of death, all that I have to do is what? That is why in our country, we keep all the names, at least the previous generation. 2-3 generation backs and all, when you do this ceremonies and all, even if you forget your grandfather, your great-grandmother, the names and all, there's no problem. The priest will say, this is the name, this is the name, this is the name, this is the name. 4 or 5 names are there. Repeatedly, they'll get only those names. There's no difference. It's very easy for them to identify. Even if you forget, hey, some name there, I forgot it. Say, then that priest will tell you, is this? Yeah, correct. All names. All men will have 4 or 5 God names. Right? If you are of this category, they'll have 4 names. You have that, they'll have another 4 names. That's all. Very simple. All those names are what? Nothing but God name. The belief is what? At the time of death, at least you will call your son or daughter. If not son and daughter, at least you will call your servant. Right? So keep the servant name at least. There. Now today we have weird names. Nirosha. There's a name. Shameless. There's the meaning. When you don't know the meaning, it looks so fantastic. Weird names. I remember a few years back when I been to Bangalore very early. I think it is 98 or 99. I think it is 98. 98. I got a message. I got a call from South Africa, one of our contact. They said, sir, we are sending our daughter to Bangalore for study. So she has got the admission and all that, but we just have to take her and put her in a hotel for a day. And then she will go to the college and get the admission done and all those things, and then only she can be going into a hostel. So can you just, help her out? I said, don't mind, man, don't worry, I'll take care. So I went to the airport, picked her. I took her to a hotel close by, to a place where I was staying at that time. So I put her in a hotel. Till then, I didn't ask her one thing. I was just having conversation. How are you? Where are you? This one, that one, and all those things. But you know, that man also was mentioning, my, daughter was saying, I said, hi, how are you? This one. So I told her, I'll come in uniform. So I can't identify her. She has to come to me when she sees me in uniform. Yeah, she knows. He came, I said, hello, yes, yes, this one, that one, and all that. In the hotel, I asked her, hey, I just forgot to ask you one question. What's your name? He said, sorry, pardon, I just wanted to know your name. That's all, not that. And she said, sorry, I couldn't understand. As the third time, she got angry. I said, why are you getting angry? I'm just asking your name. Sorry. Can you read my lips? Sorry. I said, is that your name? I'm very sorry, he said. Her name was sorry. Now, weird. That's why in this country we keep. The belief is the last minute, you will call that name. Narayana, you will call servant. That's all. When you call Narayana, they believe they'll go to Vaikuntha straight, this one. And they give stories also for that. You know, that is how Ambarisha got, Mukti. They don't read the full story. Actually, the fellow didn't. It's just a dream he experienced, that's all. See, the whole story that they say is not actually what happened. It is a dream that he had. That's all. With the dream he woke up. You made a mistake. That's all. It's not that, he just said and then, straight away he went to Vaikuntha after that. It doesn't work like that, please. Don't take the letter, please. You see, these scriptures, when you read, the statements of these Mahatmas should not be read through the letters. You got to read between. It's not visible. Visibly, it will look one thing. Remember. And 99% what is visible to you is wrong. Straight away you can take it. And this is a classic example for it. Where people take, he who is casting off the body goes for thinking of me alone at the time of death. When he says thinking of me alone, eva, that eva is very important. It's like, you may not remember that. At least this you will remember. My belief is this. The doctor was telling the patient, he said, drink milk. Doctor advised, drink milk. With that, this one you have milk, it will be good. This fellow asked, sir, can I mix a little decoction with that? Little decoction I add to the milk. Then it is not milk, it's called coffee. You see, same way, can I mix a little world along with the thought of God? Finished. Then the whole thing is different. Same way. That eva is the most important thing. Thinking of me alone. No other thought. And remember, unless you have been thinking whole life, you will never get the thought in the last minute. First of all, will you be knowing that you are going to die? No chance. Most of the time, you may not. Right? Second one is, there is what we call as pranavastha. The pain of death. There is a pain. You're pulled out of the body. That pain will you be In that pain, will you be able to remember God? You won't get it. So don't take it as it's just the last thought. They think literally, it's the last thought. It's not the last thought. It is the resultant thought. Resultant thought in the sense, the sum total of all the thoughts that you have been entertaining throughout. It's like your passbook, the monthly statement you get from the bank. The balance is not dependent on the last transaction that you had with the bank. Isn't it? Your statement, your passbook shows a statement. This is your balance. That balance is not dependent on the last transaction. It is dependent on what? The sum total of all the debits and credits. Whatever you do, sum total it is. It is the effect of all the transactions that you have had, not just the last transaction. So he says, thinking of me alone at the time of death is not to be taken just as literally to be my last thought about God. All that I have to do is what? Just think of him at the time of death. That's enough. You will never get it. Unless you have the practice. Now then we say, it's not just the thought. You see, immediately you can't say Krishna. Krishna, no. That's the surface one. Through that Krishna, what you are thinking, through that sound Krishna, who you are thinking. You can call Narayana, but you are not calling actually the Lord Narayana. You are calling your servant Narayana. So the thought in you, the sound is Narayana, but the thought is not Narayana. He doesn't say, last you have to utter the name. He's not uttering. He says thinking. Now you are thinking of the servant only. See, you are not thinking of Narayana. You may call out Narayana. When you are calling out Narayana also, you are not calling Narayana. You are calling your servant. Now God is not such a fool. You see, don't think he is such a, naive. Call someone else, he will come. When you call him itself, he will not come easily. And you just call somebody else, he is going to come and stand there and say, I'm going to save you. People are so gullible, You buy that idea so easily. You yield to it. I know, I believed in it when I was told. And I heard that story. I genuinely thought, oh my God, that's all you have to do, isn't it? Then I asked, when this Ambarisha is calling Narayana, was he calling the Lord Narayana or he was calling his son Narayana? When he is calling son Narayana, the thought in him is not about the Lord. The thought is about this. So where he will go? That is why the advice given is get on to the practice. Keep that thought entertained when you are conscious now. When your life is going, everything fine in your life, more or less. And the problem for all of us is when things are going fine, you will never think of God. And when there is a trouble, when there is a problem, you think of God, but not for God. You are thinking of solution through God. So there also you are not thinking of God, actually speaking. You may say, I'm thinking of God. I'm attending Bhagavad Gita class also. You're not attending Gita for learning. You're attending Gita for finding solution. So your thought is not. So don't go by the surface thought. Right? First thing you need to remember is it's not just uttering. Remove that. Second thing you got to remember here is it is not the surface thought. Through that thought, what you are intending. When you are calling Narayana, to whom it is intended. Right? The intention is not that. I say, in the temple, you may stand and call out Ishvara and say, right? When my friend sees me there, he says, hey, Ishvara, nada pandra? Yes. Right? Yes. Now, it's a very derogatory way of calling Lord Shiva. But when he's calling Ishvara, he's not calling the Lord, he's calling his friend. So, to whom it is directed. So, internally, he's thinking of who? Shiva? No, he's not thinking of Shiva. Then what is he doing? Now, keep that in the background and read the verse. Goes forth thinking of me. He is getting the thought of the name. Surface, a thought comes. It's not the surface thought. It is what is intended through the thought. That is the real thought, not the surface, the rooted one. Through that, what you are thinking. Then comes the third point is, it is not the last thought, it is the resultant thought. The third level of understanding of this verse is, this is not just the last thought. It is a sum total. Sum total in the sense, you cannot nullify all the thoughts that you had entertained with reference to the world by just entertaining one thought of God in the last minute. It doesn't work that way. Then we ask the question, is it possible to happen to get that thought there, sir? It is not possible also. Therefore, even the great devotees keep saying, keep singing. Appodai ippodai solli vaithen, he says. Great Arvas, he says, not you and me. He says that. Whole life he is thinking of God only. He says, there is no guarantee that I may get your thought in the last minute. Therefore, hey, I'm telling your name now itself. Keep it there. This one, use it at that time. What a deal he has with God. These people have, the way these guys have played with God, no other system in the world had played with God. No other place. Nowhere they dare to even think of such a thing. That is the freedom that we had experienced in this country, in this religion, in the system. Absolute freedom. You can have that much of freedom only when you have that much of affinity. You see, if there is no affinity, you can't have the freedom. That's not possible. You see, it is the affinity that you have. How close you feel. You feel you have the freedom. Suppose when I come to your house, I have to ask, can I have a glass of water? In my house, what I do? I don't ask anyone. I simply go and take the glass, drink and come out. See, but same thing for you also. When you come here, what do you do? And that doesn't mean, I don't have to ask. No, that's not what I meant. Okay. Where there is affinity, freedom, automatic. No, there is no way. That is how we identify. Where there is more freedom, it's closeness. So close, these people can experience. Think of me. He says, there is no doubt about this. What a emphatic statement of Krishna. You see, in the scriptures, or even in the Gita also, you will find Krishna's teachings goes through three different styles. Three styles he adopts to teach. Some places they quote the masters. He quotes the Upanishads. He doesn't say anything. He quotes them. That's all. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogadan atmanyev atmana tushtaha sthita prajna tata uchate, says. Said to be. Said by who? Said by those great masters. Those Upanishadic seers have said, he is a Sthita Prajna. Whoever it is, he just gives those qualifications. That is quoting. One style of teaching is to refer to the great statements, the great masters. Then you have another way of teaching, wherein he gives clear reasons, logic, proofs, evidences, investigates, analyzes, all that he does. And then he says, therefore, we have seen this, tasmat, therefore, he says. So, clear reasoning he does. Like in the 3rd chapter, you can see there. He gives the clear reasoning as to why you have to act, why you can't afford to move away from action. Clear reasoning he gives. Some places, he will just make a assertive statement, declarative statements. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it, man. This is what it is. That is the place here. One of the nice statement is, there's no doubt about it, man. It's an emphatic declaration. Declarative things. But when he declares also, he's just stating a fact. That's all. So what you have to do is this. Get this thinking going. Constantly you got to keep thinking. When your life is going more or less okay. Remember that. When the things are happening more or less fine with you, there you have to experience it. There you have to keep putting this effort. The problem for us is, when life is going smooth, we don't have time. And when there is a problem in life, your whole energy is spent only on finding a solution to the proper problem. That's about it. There's no time. He says in Bhajagovindam, no? Balastava Krida Tarunastava Taruni Sakta Vruddhastava Chinta Sakta Parame Brahmani Kopina Sakta. When you are a child, you are lost in play. When you are adult, youth, lost in passion. I have to achieve this, I have to get this, I have to get this, get that. You know, something or the other, passion. Then, when you grow old, what are you, sir? Chinta, thinking, worrying. What happened? What happened? What happened? That's why, grandparents and, grandson, granddaughters have a real problem because they keep on asking, what happened? What happened? You know, what is this? What is this? What is this? They wanted to know everything. Why? Worried about everything. Chinta, worried. What will happen? What will happen? What will happen? I am so worried about you. Rabindranath Tagore's grandmother was so worried about Tagore. The whole world doesn't know anybody in that family. Even the grandmother, we don't know. Rabindranath Tagore's parents, anybody knows? His brothers, sisters, anybody knows? Nobody knows. Even in Calcutta, I have asked, what is the name of Tagore's father? There. Huh? There. Why do you want to know Tagore's father name? Tagore's mother name? What is Tagore's sister? But the beauty is, Tagore's grandmother was so worried about Rabindranath Tagore, not about others, because she thought everyone else was settled in their life. Only fellow who is not settled in her, in their life is Tagore only. Worried. Old age, worry. Therefore, Shankara says, your whole life is gone with play, passion, worry. Where is the time for you to think of Brahman? And we say, no, sir, don't worry about all that. Last time, and a lot of them have this belief, they go and do also that, actually. Say Rama. Yeah, Inga. He goes, that's all. Rama will not come. That name itself will not come. Forget about all other things. Thought Allah forget. The sound will not come. Therefore, what are you supposed to do? He says, attain my being. Yes, attain my being. How do they attain my being? He is going to explain later. Okay. How that attainment will happen and all will come later. Now, all that he is giving is just introducing that idea. At the time of death, what is happening? This all is happening. How he will attain, further explanation comes. So right now, don't take it literally as, last thought I get, then that is it. Then there is no problem at all. It's not that case. Verse 6, continuing the idea, is just explaining further the same point. Yam yam vapi smaran bhava jajantyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tatbhava bhavita. Of whatever being one thinks at the time of death while leaving the body, to that alone one goes, O Kaunteya, because of constantly thinking of that being. Now he is explaining what is the last thought. Whatever one thinks at the time of death, to that alone he will reincarnate next. There is a very, suggestively he refers to the theory of reincarnation. Right? Those who are not aware of the theory of reincarnation, read Vedanta treatise, Karma Yoga, that law of karma. law of causation, chapter read is it's explained there, right? Because if I start, reincarnation theory, now the whole thing will go off. We'll not be able to cover it. So go through that. If you reincarnation is that there are two thought process we have. One set of people say there is one life. You are born, you die. After death, you just go and wait at the gates, and there will be a judgment for you. You will be judged based on your lifestyle. You have done good things, you have done the right things, whatever you are supposed to do, prescribed things you have done, visa entry. Right, there is a visa officer. He will give an entry into heaven. Then you go to heaven, and you will be there in heaven for how long? You will be there, that's all. Eternally you will be there. Suppose if you have not done all the wrong things here, then what happens? You will be thrown into hell. How long will be there in the hell cell? That's all. Because there's no second chance. There is only one chance. This is one. Now, these people, this another group says, it is not one chance. You go through it, then you go to heaven, you go to hell, but you are not going to be in heaven or you are not going to be in hell for eternity. You will be there for a period of time for all the good that you have done. You will be given time to enjoy, or you have done the wrong things, then you will be put in hell. Go through the pain and then come back. Start afresh. This is another group. Now, Krishna subscribes to the second group of thinking. That's all. If you ask me, which one you know, I don't know. I don't know whether there is, after death you ask me, I will let you know. Right. After death, I will tell you. You will come and check with me. The ghost will come. You see. But between the two, we have to think logical. It's both are theories. There is neither a proof you have for there is no life after death, nor there is a proof there is life after death. For both, there is no proof. Okay. Then what we can do is we can only apply our thinking and see which makes more sense, which goes along with other established principles of life, known laws. So with all that known thing which goes along is the reincarnation. Therefore, between the two, which appears to be probable more, a strong theory, is reincarnation. Right? That's how in science, that is how we think. In science, how we identify things are like this. We identify things not based on it. Like, for example, we say this, human beings, evolutionary theory. Evolution, humans came from monkeys, is just a theory. You see, there's no proof we have. That's why it's called a theory. But still we subscribe to the theory and say it is correct. Why? Because it's a very strong validation it has. It's a way of studying a theory, validating a theory. So when you have two theories, you validate one more. One will be treated as strong or weak. In science, scientific theories, there is no such thing as right theory and wrong theory. In science, there is only strong theory and weak theory. It's a study on theories, right? Now, reincarnation is a theory, correct? There's no proof. Don't go by the proof. There's no way that you can find a proof for all those things. It's not just, simply concoctions. We will keep saying, near-death experience. It's exactly like saying, I scored 34. Pass mark is 35. Or this better example would be, people keep saying, I missed that lottery by one number. What is the difference now? The last number is 8, I got 7. How much you would have got? First prize. MD 6, 7, 8, 7, 3, 5, 8. What I got, sir? 3, 5, 7 I got. How much he has got? Money. 0. Exactly the same way as a person who has no connection to this. Near-death experiences like that. Near-death experience has got nothing to do with death. Remember, don't, people buy, I've seen books and, in the net also you see, my God, how many things goes on. Near-death, and they think that is really there is no connection, man. Death experience, you are dead means you cannot come back. That's all. There is no such thing as near death. People go and ask them also, what was it? Other fellows say some weird things they say. There is a long tunnel of just going. And the animation also they show. It goes. The tube link. I said, are you going down or going up? The straight I was going. How you are trying? It's all just, your imaginations, remember. It's just your mind. It's got nothing to do with the reality. So reality, you have no clue. There is no way that you can identify which is what. That's why that Nachiketa is a brilliant student. He said, I wanted to know what happens after death. Right person to ask is who? Yama. Straight he went to Lord Yama. You are in charge. No, you tell me, he said. You are in charge of death. No, you should know. So you please tell me what happens after death. Doesn't work that way. It's a theory. Remember, first understand reincarnation theory. Now, in the study of a theory, we never say right and wrong. We only use the word strong and weak. So, no reincarnation is a weak theory. Reincarnation is a strong theory. In science, we give same weightage to theories also as you give weightage to law. Newton gave out gravitation law. Einstein gave theory, isn't it? Relativity. Theory of relativity. Both are equally respected in science. We don't say Newton is superior. Why? Because he gave law and this person gave only theory. It's my theory then. That shows how poor your knowledge about science. That's about it. In theory, you don't. Then how do you determine the strength and weakness? That's a different study. Those things are all. You go independently. So how do you find out the theory strength? And all that is a separate one. We'll deal in some other context. When we go there, when we study reincarnation. Right now, that's not required. He's only suggesting there is a reincarnation because that's where he goes next year, which means he's going to take a next birth. So what he is giving here is only this. There is a whatever you think at the time of death, that is where you would go. What will you think at the time of death? What you have been thinking right through your life. That's all. That's what he says. So where you will be reincarnating, what will be happening to you next is dependent on what you think at the time of death. But what you think at the time of death is dependent on what you have been thinking right through constantly in your life. Wherever you have been investing your thoughts, I want to know, I want to learn, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Only that you will become next. This is clear cause and effect. Remember, there's a cause and effect. Yes. You constantly thinking. What you are being thinking alone will come as words. Whatever you are being speaking, thinking, is what you will do in action, is what you will do. So repeated thinking, repeated talking, repeated doing will become a habit. That's all. So unless you have developed that habit of yours determines your future, how you will be. So your future is dependent on what? On habit. Your habit is dependent on what? Your action. Your action is dependent on what? Your words, your talking. Your talking is dependent on what? What you have been constantly thinking. So thinking, talking, doing, habit, future. This is cause and effect. Right? That cause and effect is just a statement of fact. It looks like that. When he says, whatever one thinks at the time of, at the end, while leaving the body, to that alone one goes. And we are very good in finding loopholes. You know, the moment you put a law, first thing we find is what? How to circumvent. The moment they say you are supposed to wear a mask, yeah, we'll wear a mask. Where? Have you seen a lot of people put a mask to the chin? I don't know for what. And the best part is, they'll be wearing a mask when they are quiet. When they talk, they remove the mask. Have you seen? Fascinating one. Government made a rule that you got to wear helmet. You see a lot of people carrying helmet in their elbow, bike. You don't need a helmet for elbow. See, helmet is supposed to be there, the head. The moment they see the policeman, immediately they take it and put it on. And a lot of them put on the helmet and there is no belt. There's no hook, you see. Then for what you are wearing the helmet, I don't know. You know, you have the helmet. First thing to fall off when you meet with accident is a helmet. Because they don't buckle it. You know, helmet is supposed to have a buckle. It is supposed to protect. Our fellows what? Anything we do, first thing we find is what? The loophole. The moment he said, whatever the one thinks that alone, but what you are constantly thinking is what you, no. We think what? Last we will think of God. It's like studying for the exam the last day. You know? Last day you study for exam. Previous day to exam, how much you study. Like that these people are. Doesn't work like that. Preparation should start from when? Right now. Because for a simple fact of life is any time you can be called off. Your ticket can get confirmation anytime. But every one of us believe what? My waiting list is not going to be confirmed. And your, waiting list number also you don't know. Nothing you know, but you are a waiting list. Anytime you can get confirmation. We think it is going to have enough time. Enough time is there for me. For me, it is not going to happen. For me, it is not going to happen. That complacency, you know, that will not happen to me. I will not get corona. The complacency you are finished. A lot of them believed India will not get, I saw the paper, one fellow wrote an article. India escaped the second wave. It came in the papers. You should search for that guy and ask him. No, we escaped second wave, but this is third wave actually. 1 to 3rd, double promotion. India is, a very advanced country. We are very intelligent people. We always go double promotion. First wave to third wave, we have come straight, complacency. That will not happen to me. This will not happen to me. Are you thinking of God? You claim, but are you really thinking of God? Only one fellow had the courage to test that. There's a great personality called Appaya Dikshidhar. This man has written texts supporting all systems of philosophy. Advaita he has written, Vasishtha Advaita he has written, same person has written in support of them, in support of this, Shaiva Advaita also he has written, Shiva Advaita. There is a system called the Shiva Advaita. This one, that also he has written. You name a system, he has written in support of that. There was people used to say, if you want to call someone a real scholar, no testing and all that. They will take few verses of Appaya Dikshidhar and give him and say, explain that. Yeah, what is he saying in this? Can you explain what he is saying in this? If the fellow can explain it, then he is a pundit. He is a scholar. There is no test and all that. There is no testing. You don't have to write huge, theses and this one, that one, nothing. They'll give 1 or 2 verses from his books, his works. Suddenly, he got a doubt. I'm writing all those things. People are all claiming myself to be a great devotee, and he is a great devotee of Shiva. Right? Suddenly, he got a doubt. Am I really a devotee or I'm simply faking? How to know? And all his students, all his disciples, people around him, everyone was saying, oh, sir, if you are not a devotee of Shiva, then who can be called a devotee of Shiva? He said, I have a doubt. So what he did was, there's a flower, that Erkambu. I don't know what is the medical, what is the English name for that. Calotropis or something they say. Some botanical name, perhaps. Which we make for, Ganesha, that garland, we make that small one. It will grow in the wild ones. That is. For Ganesha, they use that. When you pluck that, you get a milk sort of thing will ooze out. You collect that milk and drink, a particular quantity, you will go mad. You will lose yourself completely. You will go off. Your mind will go off. He collected that and he called his disciples and said, I'm going to drink it. Leave me for 1 muhurta, for 45 minutes. Allow me for 45 minutes. And observe whatever I say, whatever I blabber, I'll blabber something. What doesn't matter what I blabber, Keep on writing it. At the end of 45th minute, give this antidote. If I drink that antidote, it will destroy. If I don't take that antidote within that 45 minutes of time, the madness will be permanent. You can't cure. Right? This is the thing. Like there is one, fellow in Coimbatore, from some Prabhakar, something, that fellow. He wanted to know the taste of cyanide. He wrote, it is bitter. Of course, it's not officially accepted. Right? Officially, it's not been accepted, but unofficially, it is there. Cyanide. He tasted, cyanide. Of course, he passed away. He said it burns, and it is burning sensation you get in the tongue. Also, it is bitter. Wrote that, but then it's not accepted by people. Like that, this man, that milk he drank, and he told his disciples, "Look here. Suppose if I am not speaking about God in that 45 minutes, don't give that antidote. Let me be mad only. Doesn't matter. If I am talking about God, give me antidote and I'll come back to sense." Such a big risk, And he took that. And 45 minutes blasted off the text, known as, after that they gave him, because he was talking on the glory of Shiva, is speaking, and chased philosophy in a state of madness, in a state of absolutely no sense. In that maddening state, he goes on singing that. That means how deep-rooted that thought should have gone in. It's known as Atmarpanastuti. And more popularly known is not Atmarpanastuti. They call it as, Unmata Darshiva. There are 50 verses of, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Like set of 10. He would just utter 10 verses at a stretch and relax. And then another 10 verses. Another 10 verses. Some of the disciples were thinking, let us leave him as it is, because best things are coming out now. A fascinating man. This Abhay Dikshita. He says, what you are constantly thinking of, if you have been thinking of the Lord, you will go there. If you are thinking of the world, you will go here. What you have been thinking constantly is what you will get, says. Whatever being one thinks at the end while leaving the body, to that alone one goes, O Kaunteya, because of constantly thinking of that being. I'll see you next week.